welcome back to the Ludiverse podcast. I am your host, Jay, and again with me is my wife.
Hello.
And we have another guest with us today. Would you care to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Chris, and I have been a Dom for about 20 years now in the lifestyle. So, hello.
And it's always good to have a voice of experience in.
I have a vast array of experience because I'm. How should I put it best? I'm an experimentalist. I like to try everything at least 3 times to make sure that I know what I'm doing. And I have been teaching at BDSM clubs and dungeons for about 5 years.
Impressive.
Yeah, I mean it's both a hobby and a pleasure at the same time. So
It's no longer a hobby when you're not having fun.
exactly, it would be kind of a bad hobby to have if you're just miserable while doing it.
Yeah.
You have to safe word out of your own hobby.
It happens occasionally, yes. But mostly I've been able to handle what's been thrown at me.
You're here today to talk about aftercare and just general safety in kink in general.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the first thing that is the absolute most important thing when it comes to safety is to recognize the risk. Like, you have to know what you're getting yourself into. You have to communicate. There are several schools. You have the SSC, which stands for Safe, Sane, Consensual, when it emphasizes where you focus mainly on safety. Then you have the RAC school, which is more of risk-aware consensual kink, where it comes to the more riskier types of kinks, like, for example, CNC and stuff like that. And then you have the hurt, not harm school, which recognizes that it may, you may get temporarily hurt during a scene, but that should not result in the long-term harm. Just, the pleasurable spankings and chokings or whatever you enjoy. So that's the first thing that's most important to learn.
That is definitely very important.
Yeah. And I mean, once you acknowledge the risk involved and, you have communicated with your partner, it's very important to set up a safe word. I mean, that's basically the key to an entire scene. If you don't have a safe word, you don't have a good way to stopping it without causing, tension and trauma for yourself, really.
Okay, that is understandable.
Yeah. and I mean, then you have the basic things like, don't play under the influence, don't go in pissed drunk and set up a scene and do something, because you don't have all your faculties in order if you're under the influence. So, be aware of what you're doing, do it sober, and, just have your faculties in order, because once you overstep that border, it's so easy for accidents to happen. And like, for example, we had a couple in Sweden for about, I think it was like 3-4 years ago. They were a little tipsy, put up a scene. The guy fell asleep after he tied her up, and he fell asleep for so long that she actually suffocated and died while she was tied up. So that's why you should never, mix alcohol with BDSM or any type of those extremer kinks.
Yeah, 'cause safety first always.
Yeah. And I mean, I have been such an outspoken person when it comes to safety. Whether I'm teaching at the clubs, whether I'm in a dungeon teaching somebody one-on-one, or whether I'm, out on the internet in the kink groups on Facebook trying to preach the safety, because I've come across so many people just while going into a chat or something. You can come across people that don't even know what a safe word is, or aftercare and stuff like that. And, that's really horrific when you hear people that has been, in the lifestyle for several years, and they don't even know the basics. That's terrifying.
Because that can cause a traumatic situation like the one that you just gave an example of.
Yeah, and not only that, but it also opens for abusers to, manipulate and take control of you if you do not know what you're allowed to do, or, what you're supposed to do when something goes wrong.
That is true.
And unfortunately, lately there are so many abusers that are trying to find their way into the BDSM scene to, use it to their own advantage. And that's why it's so important for both the submissives and the dominants and the switches to know when to stop, what to do, what red flags to look after, how to vet somebody, how to, properly interview a person before you start a scene with them.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a pretty important interview to cover.
Yeah, basically the most important thing is communication. That's like, if you can't communicate, you can't do scenes together. It's just as basic as that.
Oh yeah, see, there it is again. Communication keeps coming up.
Yeah.
What it's all about.
Yeah, and I'm such a big, big outspoken person when it comes to communication, because I have been in really bad relationships in my past. Even though I'm a dom, I have been in abusive relationships where I have been abused. So it's so important that communication goes both ways, that both people get what they need and want, and, both people being safe.
Yeah, safety is very it's like top of the thing, because if you're not safe, then at the very least you're not comfortable, and at the very worst it could be very dangerous.
And then on top of that, with such an increase of interest thanks to one particular book series, a lot of people are experimenting without really knowing anything. They just assume, okay, this is what they did in the movie, let's do this, and something does happen.
Oh, I hear we're talking about 50 Shades of Grey again.
Because that really was an abusive relationship, the way you look at it.
Yeah, but I mean, the saddest part is I sat just, I think it was a month ago or a month and a half ago, I was on my way in to see the doctor, and I'm sitting on the bus, in my own, headspace, and I hear this couple of girls behind me talking about 50 Shades of Grey, and how they want a Mr. Grey of their own and everything like that. And I turn around, and these girls, they're about like 14, 15 years old. And I'm sitting there to myself, no, you don't need a Mr. Grey. You need to fucking grow up before you even think about going into the lifestyle.
Yes.
Because, I mean, let's face it. He was abusive. He raped her because she used the safe word and he kept on going. And if you keep on going when the safe word is used, that's equivalent to rape. He stalked her. He treated her so fucking badly. And that's what people want just because he's rich. That's okay. I promise you, if he lived in a trailer, that whole book series would be an episode of Criminal Minds.
Yes. So yes on that one. Because I remember I read the books before they started shrink wrapping them on the shelf.
Oh, yeah.
So, but the thing is that our society has started sexualizing movies and everything, but nobody's actually trying to really learn. They're just seeing what they watch on TV or in movies and so on. They don't actually understand.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where, if you're just going to take one example here, that's where Sons of Anarchy did it right, because they took in people from Hell's Angels so they could understand the biker culture. And the BDSM movies need to do the same thing. They need to take in somebody who actually lives the freaking lifestyle. Otherwise you get movies like 365 Days that basically glorifies fucking rape and kidnapping.
Yeah.
By the way, am I allowed to swear?
Yes,
Oh, absolutely.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, okay. Just had to make sure.
Yeah, because it's the thing of the worst. I think in the end of the first book, she says, "Go take me to as far as you can." And then when she finally realizes, wow, it ain't right. You're not educating her. Here's a contract and throw her in. She doesn't know what she's doing and she's a virgin. Yeah, wrong.
Yeah. I mean, she didn't know what she signed, and once she reached her limit, she didn't know how to communicate that she reached her limit. And on top of that, he's not being a guide; he's being an abuser. That's the only way I can put it, because he's abusing her.
Yeah, and she said, and he's like, "Why didn't you safe word? You could have safe word during that." And she said, "I didn't know I could. I thought I had to endure it."
Yeah, exactly. And that's again where we come back to communication, because you have to be communicative enough to tell your submissive or your switch, or even to tell the dom that it's okay to safe word, and you must allow them to use the safe word and show them that, okay, once the safe word hits, you stop and you immediately go into aftercare, like immediately.
Because I mean, what that did is just went, it's okay to beat people on that one.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so wrong, because, the first thing you do is you sit down, you talk to the person, you say, do you want to try BDSM? Why do you want to try BDSM? Do you have any particular interests? What are your soft limits? What are your hard limits? How do you feel about these types of scenes that you say that you want to play? What would make you feel safer? How confident do you feel about your skills? Everything like that. Are you happy with the pace that we're setting up, or do you want it to slow down a little bit, or do you even feel the drive to be submissive, or maybe a switch or dominant? You have to have that clear communication before you even start a scene.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is just education of sex is mostly, again, on media and not so much in a classroom or one-on-one.
Well, they've had so many parents advocating to remove sex education from school because they try to say, oh, it's inappropriate for a teacher to talk to my child about their body, but then the parents won't talk to their children about their body. So they have to learn from the media, experimentation, and the experimentation can get dangerous. So we need comprehensive sex education in every school worldwide. Full stop.
That's why I always tell parents who are against sex education in school that you don't want them to learn from Bob 45 on the internet. You want them to learn from a teacher that's, educated in the way to talk to kids, in a way to, educated in the subject, not somebody who has an ulterior motive online, because that's just going to open up for abusers and, predators.
Yes, and my experience in high school, I believe it was like my sophomore or junior year, my health class was an entire semester, and they scared the shit out of us by showing us pictures of genitalia of people who have sexually transmitted diseases going untreated. I never want to see a man's genitals with genital warts again. It was scary.
Yeah.
It was scary. And then, of course, we had to get permission, but we had to watch video of a woman giving birth, but from the doctor's point of view. So you're saying, that's how I went to school in Maryland. And we live in Virginia, but in Maryland they were pretty extreme, and because of that, I knew right then and there, okay, I don't want this. I don't want this. If I'm going to have sex, I'm going to get a condom.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's good in one way, but being too extreme can also, scare people and push them into other narratives, like celibacy and stuff like that. And then that's where, okay, I'm just going to say this flat out. I am not a believer in the, organized religion, and a lot of organized religion are really predatory in how they treat sexual education in schools, and they rather want to teach chastity and don't want to teach like anyone about how it really works.
Yeah, and to me, I'm agnostic. I don't follow a branch. I do believe something's out there, but
yeah, same here.
They do kind of go, you can't do this, you can't do this. Okay, so what am I supposed to do when I get married?
Yeah, and I mean that's the scary part, because they put so much pressure on especially on women. that you have to save yourself, you have to be pure for the marriage, and you have to save it for the marriage, for the marriage and everything like that. But yeah, what's going to happen on the honeymoon night? Like, you don't know what to do, you don't know how to feel, you don't know anything, and it's just going to be a terrible memory for you. Like, your honeymoon is going to be a fucking terrifying, horrible memory if you just end up like that.
Yeah, and you want it, and it's supposed to be a time of enjoyment, not a time of oh crap, oh crap, oh crap.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's not how you want to remember your honeymoon, is oh crap, oh crap, oh crap.
Yeah. The only time I would go oh crap is if I went skydiving on a honeymoon.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah, it's now these days they keep sexualizing genders. I watched a guy on Facebook. It was a TikTok video. He said, "How come my child, my little girl, her sizes in infant clothing are completely different from the boys' sizes because hers are cut a certain way to make her look different, to make her look sexualized." And I kind of agree. I don't understand why the genders have to be sexualized. And then people make women victims of rape, make them feel more guilty. Well, if you weren't dressed that way, you wouldn't have been raped. It doesn't matter how you were dressed. They were there, and it was a rape of convenience most of the time.
There is exactly one cause for rape, and that is rapists.
Yes.
Exactly. I mean, in my eyes, a rapist is somewhere between an amoeba and that little white foam thing that comes to your mouth when you're thirsty. Like, that's somewhere around there I place rapists. Like, they're literally the fucking scum of the earth.
Yes. If you're going to destroy somebody's life in just 10-15 minutes because you're horny, you need to be slapped.
Yeah. You need to be fucking institutionalized because, a woman should be able to strut down, fucking do cartwheels naked down, Michigan or New York or Stockholm, Sweden or whatever without being raped.
Yeah, and it does happen to men too.
Yeah, it happened to me.
It happened to me as well.
And a lot of people still go, no, men don't get raped. Yes, they do. It's harder for them to prove it.
It's also harder for us to come forward with it because we're supposed to, like, from childhood, men are told that if you have a lot of sex, you're a stud and you're the man. But if a woman has the same amount of sex as a man, then all of a sudden she's a slut and she's a whore and she's easy.
And I mean, to all those men, I just want to say one thing. Like, these guys, they are the guys that are trying to have as much sex as possible. Now, if you want to have as much sex as possible, why are you shaming women that also want to have sex? I mean, you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
Yes.
If men are supposed to have a lot of sex and women aren't supposed to have a lot of sex, who are the men supposed to have sex with?
Exactly. I mean, they might be dendrophiles and, like fucking trees or something like that. I don't know. But getting back on topic here, another important thing is, patience. Be patient, be humble, be open, realistic, and sensitive. Don't just go all in, on your first try. Know your limits, be humble. You don't have to, commit to a 10-hour insanity session the first time you do it. You can commit to 5 minutes.
I don't think I could last that long.
I mean, everyone's different, so yeah. But that's why I'm saying it, be patient and be humble. The pyramids weren't built in one day, New York wasn't built in one day.
Oh, yeah. It's just, even in any relationship, it takes time.
Oh, of course. Naturally.
So, in regards to the whole aftercare thing.
Yeah.
I've heard that aftercare doesn't have to wait until the entire scene is over. Like, you can have mid-scene aftercare if it's needed, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. For example, one of my former subs, we always partitioned the scene up into like acts, like if you went to a theater, those kind of acts, and in the middle of each act we had a little aftercare scene, and then we had a big finale of aftercare at the end.
Okay. And how would you describe, like, what exactly do you do in aftercare?
Well, aftercare can take many shapes and forms. I mean, you have both a physical and an emotional aspect of it. And if I would break it down and simplify it as much as possible, I would say physical examples, I can give you five. Like taking care of any cuts, bruises, altercations to the skin, applying creams, gels, band aids, whatever's needed. Number two, taking a hot bath or a hot shower together because the heat helps you calm down and relax. Wrapping a warm blanket around the sub in order to prevent dramatic drops in temperature and also help to comfort. Giving food and water in order to rehydrate and refuel the body. And massaging sore muscles. Like that's the physical aspect of it, of aftercare.
Okay.
And then you have the emotional aspects, which can include, but isn't. This isn't all. I'm just giving a couple of examples here. One, allowing your partner to cry, be angry, shake, or express any emotions that the scene brought up, because no matter how you feel, the emotions are valid and they must come out. You can't just lock them in because that's just going to create a bigger problem and trauma in the future. And secondly, talking quietly about the scene, what you both like, didn't like, what needs to change, what, you need to try a little bit more, what you need to educate yourselves on, stuff like that. Cuddling with, holding each other, telling each other, you're beautiful, I didn't mean anything I said, I love you, stuff like that. And then, just affirmation, lots and lots of affirmation.
And in that aftercare is where you guys do learn your limits as well as communicate even more.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, but you're creating this strong bond that you can't find anywhere else. Like, I have been in both vanilla relationships and BDSM relationships, and I can tell you, from my experience, in my point of view, there are nothing in the relationship world as strong as a, kink BDSM relationship. Because the level of communication that's supposed to be in a BDSM relationship, it isn't there in most vanilla relationships.
It's more strong, it's more deep.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, one of the most important things when it comes to aftercare that many people don't even realize is that DOMs need aftercare as well. Because DOMs can get a drop as well as subs can get a drop.
That I never thought of. Okay.
Well, it's very common that, everyone thinks that, oh, the sub gets a drop, the sub needs aftercare, the sub needs. But if you're in, for me, example, I'm a sadist. And if I am in a very rough scene where I'm degrading somebody, slapping somebody, choking them, stuff like that, I need to hear afterwards that, I wanted this, I needed this, you didn't do anything wrong, you did exactly everything I wanted, I know you didn't mean the things you said. Because I can drop from that, because that is such an extreme difference of who I am outside of the kink.
Gotcha. Okay. I can understand that because again, the Dom themselves could become depressed.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, exactly. And you need to hear that, again, affirmation that you did okay. I love you. I know you didn't mean that.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. And I've thought of that before, but it was kind of a passing thought, so I never dwelled on it too much because I've never really been in that position. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I mean, it can be small emotional changes that you don't notice at first. But after, say, 5, 10 years of not getting aftercare, of not getting affirmation, you can start to build up a deep depression and you don't even know what you're depressed about.
That is quite interesting. So it's very important to have not only just the communication and safety, but aftercare is a big aspect of BDSM.
Oh yeah, for me it's the highlight of the scene. Like for me it's the most important part because that is where I get to know the person I'm with. That is where I can give the person all my love.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I can see that.
It was kind of mentioned earlier in with the whole 50 Shades discussion, but it is very important for everyone to understand that consent is not final. Consent can be withdrawn at any point, and anything beyond that is just out of the question, should not happen. Once consent is withdrawn, everything should stop and back up. So
Exactly.
it's like a computer. If your computer has a real problem, you stop and you take it back to the last safe point.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also important to know that when consent is withdrawn, you do the aftercare routine, and everybody has different aftercare routines as well. So you have to ask every person that you're with what their aftercare routine is, and that's why communication again is so important. Because when consent is withdrawn, of course something is wrong, and you need to tackle that, and you need to deal with those emotions.
Yeah, because you hear too many rape stories where the guy's like, or the girl, whoever the rapist is like, well, they said it was okay, and I thought maybe they had a moment of doubt, and I thought maybe they would get back into it. No. Once they say stop, you stop. Plain and simple.
Exactly. And that's where it's also so important to have what I call a safe word. Because if you're doing, example, a CNC scene, like consensual non-consent, a rape play, if you do a scene like that and you have stop words like no, stop, the brain is not going to figure that one out. And it's going to be so much wrong. So you got to have a safe word that you normally wouldn't use in that situation, but also that is easy enough for you to, remember. And that's when I teach this to people, I always tell them, go for the traffic lights. Green means go, yellow means slow down, red means full stop.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the other sadist that we had on the show mentioned the stoplights thing too.
Yeah, because it's the easiest one for beginners to learn. It's, because you already know the traffic stops. You know them by heart. You know what it means.
Yeah, because you use them every day in your life when you're driving the car.
Well, even children understand the traffic lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why when you are in the middle of all these emotions, you're euphoric, you might have had 2-3 orgasms, and all of a sudden you're going to think about senator, pineapple, whatever safe word you have. It can go wrong. That's why it's simplify it.
There we go. Senator, pineapple. Yeah, try to remember that because your mind with how your body, the sensations you're feeling. Sometimes your brain gets a little overloaded.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, when you're having sex, any human contact, you release serotonin in your body, and you get all giddy and feel good, and that's why everybody says that after you had sex, oh, I can see you're glowing, you must have gotten laid, and yeah, because you're fucking happy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but like the fact that your brain can get overloaded and you could forget your safe word. This is like, unless it's a CNC scene where stop and no are part of the scene. If somebody says stop or no, there should at least be a pause.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Are we good? Is that just your emotions, or do we need to stop?
Yeah.
And then if they say go, then you just pick up where you were. And then, like the safe word is a full stop. And then like stop could be kind of like a high yellow.
Yeah, and I mean, if they say I don't know, it's full stop. If they say I'm not sure, it's full stop. If they say no, it's full stop. Anything other than an enthusiastic yes is a stop.
Right.
And this is something that both partners need to figure out before they even start, period.
Yeah, safe word. The most important part about safe word is sometimes you might not be able to have a safe word because, for example, you have a big ass gag ball in your mouth. You can't talk when you have that there. So you need to have something else as a safe word. So some people use keys in the hand. Some people use, stress balls in the hand. And once they let go of it, the partner knows when to stop. But it's also super important for the dominant to learn how the person's body works. before going into a scene. That's where you try one little thing here, one little thing there to see how the person's body reacts to it. And you can see the mood changes in the person. And when you see somebody getting maybe a little bit more apathetic or, you know, a little more down, not so enthusiastic anymore, you got to stop and check in, you know, how is it? And make sure that you don't just ask once, ask a couple of times. Don't be afraid. If the sex has to stop, it has to stop. Go to Aftercare, put on Disney Plus, get something to drink, and, you know, calm down and try it again next day.
There you go.
Back when I first started being interested in like just kink lifestyles, I saw a lot of those things. It was like BDSM, where yes means yes, no means yes, and pineapple means stop. And I was like, haha, that's funny, safe words. But then as I've been learning, it's like, no means no. that's what that is.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone that's, I think, above 20 years of age, that's a little bit older like me, you know, we grew up in a different time. Like, we didn't have this woke movement that we have nowadays that can actually, you know, educate people. Like, back in my days, we made lots of inappropriate jokes and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
But the key is to learn from those mistakes and to learn to be a better person.
Absolutely. And it's hard to find resources to learn about this kind of stuff because it's been taboo for so long. So
Yeah.
that's like over the last year with the pandemic, a lot of people have been like exploring their sexualities and themselves and going out and looking for resources to learn. So it's things like this podcast where people are like, there's things that I know that I can talk about, but there's a lot that I don't know. So I find people that do know and I talk to them about it so that not only can I learn, but anybody who's listening can also learn.
Exactly, and you're doing a good thing by educating others alongside educating yourself, and that's so important. And that's also one of the reasons why I started the Facebook group where we met. Was that, you know, I was used to being around teaching in clubs and dungeons and stuff like that, and all of a sudden here I am sitting in quarantine going, oh, what the fuck am I supposed to do with my time now? Uh, so all of a sudden I had all these extra hours and nothing to do. So I was like, well, I might as well go online and see what's happening.
It's like I started the show with my friend Courtney, and I was like, well, I need to find people to talk to, and I went to Facebook, and I went to the search groups part, and I was like, all right, kink. And this whole list popped up. I'm like, okay, I didn't know this was all here. Join.
Yeah, I mean, for me as well, I didn't realize how much there was out there. I mean, I know about FetLife, and I knew about the Swedish version of FetLife, which is called Dark Side. But I've never recommended those places to anybody because FetLife is actually one of the most disgusting places I have come across as a dom, period.
Yeah, I've heard things like that before from other people.
I had an account on FetLife, and I just noticed that, I put my interests up and everything, and some of the posts I saw and some of the comments that I had for me and everything, I kind of was just like, okie dokie, yeah, this ain't right. I believe FetLife, if it has worked for you, fine. But I think that's more of a place for predators.
Yeah, and I mean, the sad part is why I am so against FetLife is that FetLife has actually gone out of their way to protect predators, to protect abusers. They refuse to cooperate with police when there's a serious situation. They have even, victim blamed so many times. And, I can't accept anybody, saying, oh yeah, go to FetLife, it's a nice place, you can learn, it's all about BDSM, when I know all these things, because it's actually a really dangerous place to be on.
And yeah, it's like after I had an account for maybe 6 months, and just a lot of the responses I got, I just never felt comfortable. It was like when AOL started, and going into chat rooms, and every now and again you get that one person who just, okay, nope, red flag.
Yeah, and I mean, my ex was on both FetLife and Darkside, the Swedish version of it, and you know, I sat there next to her because she wanted to show me what it was like being a woman on those sites, and 5 minutes of scrolling, and I saw more red flags than the entire fucking Soviet nation back in their glory days of CCCP.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like, for some reason, there are people who feel that because they're behind a screen, they can do and say whatever they want, and it'll be okay. And it's not okay, because all they're going to end up doing is driving all of the, like, you get those creepy guys that every picture that they see, like, I see stuff like this on Facebook even. It's like a woman will put up a picture of herself, and she's wearing full clothes. She's wearing a nice shirt, maybe a skirt, and she's just like, felt pretty today. Here's a picture. And then this whole list of comments is like, wonder what's underneath that skirt, and wonder what's underneath that shirt, and hey, nice tits. And it's just like,
Yeah.
Why do you think that's okay? Would you want someone to talk to your mother that way, your sister, your daughter?
Yeah, exactly. And the sad part is that, Facebook, Instagram, none of these, giants in social communication are doing anything about that. But God forbid that you show a nipple or, talk about anything kinky or try to teach anybody about kink. You get stamped so hard by the Facebook bots. Like, it's like that.
Yeah, Facebook is actually started removing kink groups because there's a bunch that I used to be a part of that have just vanished.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are starting to move to Discord because as long as you're not advocating pedophilia or going out of your way to threaten people, they pretty much let you do whatever you want.
Yeah, and the sad part is that Discord isn't even safe because, for example, on Facebook and on Messenger, if you go start chat groups there and stuff like that, you can actually set so only the admins can invite and stuff like that. But on Discord, you can actually stumble into servers by accident by getting a link from a friend, from a friend, from a friend. And there can be kids stumbling in servers that they aren't supposed to be on. So Discord isn't the best place either.
Yeah, it's hard to try to find a safe place to be able to express yourself without wondering what's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's again the stigma and the taboo of the kink world coming up here again when we talk about this. If it would, why can't this be acceptable to talk about out loud? Why do people have to hide it? Why do people have to fight to find a place to talk about it? It's natural.
It's part of human nature. Is we need that comfort and connection of another. This is one way of expressing it, other than just holding hands and hugging.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is that BDSM, it goes so far back into time. I mean, French people back in the 17th era, and all the way back to the old Egyptians, they were having BDSM sex. So why can't we do it today?
I think a good bit of it is organized religion.
Yeah, the church is real big in controlling what is okay as far as sex goes. It's a lot of the driving force behind body shame, because it's your body should be covered because that's
it is a sin to show it.
Yeah, it's just it's not. It's a natural thing. Read your Bible. If you want to throw religion at me, read your Bible. The first two people made by God, guess what? They were naked. They walked around fully naked. They were like, hey, it's a beautiful day. Doesn't matter that I'm standing here with, all my tackle out. I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think that everyone should be able to walk around naked. Of course, when there's kids around, cover up, You don't need to, throw your junks in a kid's face. That's not okay in any way. But, if you're two grown men or two grown women or a man and a woman, whatever you want to be naked, have fun, why the taboo?
And that's the thing. I remember just being little and When I was 4, I seemed to always try to escape out of the house, strip butt naked, and climb a tree. So that's being kids. Kids are comfortable with it. Come on.
Well, it's like you're born naked, plain and simple. You come into this
Yeah.
world free and clear, and then it's like growing up. You see, like, at what age is it no longer okay to be naked? Because you see babies running around naked all the time. You got people taking pictures of their kids in the tub and like not hiding anything. And it's like, oh, look how cute, their first bath and blah blah blah. But then you reach a certain point, and then all of a sudden they're dressed in full frocks. It's like, you can't see my child's skin. No, it's bad. It's like, okay, fine. I can understand you wanting to protect your child, but where exactly is that line where nudity is no longer okay?
Yeah. And I mean, if I want to, throw my junk out on Facebook, I should be able to do it because that's my parts. And if you don't want to see it, keep on scrolling. Don't be my friend. It's that simple.
Well, it used to be if you had a Facebook group and you had it marked to private so that people couldn't just kind of wander in if they weren't part of the group.
Yeah.
You could show whatever you wanted. Like, I was in groups where people were showing their entire body on the main Facebook
Oh, yeah, same.
app.
Yeah.
And then just one day, it all changed, and the pictures started getting removed. The entire group started getting shut down. There were people that's when all the real big bans started happening. And it's just the censorship, and it's just like human sexuality should not be a crime.
Exactly. And I mean, nowadays I have to sit every time there's a new update on Facebook, I have to sit 4 to 5 hours to read every little detail in the terms and service agreements and the new rules and everything, just to make sure that I can keep my group running. I mean, I have better things to do with my life.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's okay, so we have to hide ourselves, body shame ourselves, yet it's all over TV and in movies is okay.
Yeah, and then, they do these stupid things where, the quote unquote sexy and hot people are allowed to post more risky things. But if somebody who's a little bit more plus sized like me or a plus sized woman shows even this tiniest bit of cleavage, they get stamped instantly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that going around TikTok right now. That's
Yeah.
you got all these sexual challenges where they use certain filters or whatever, and then they're standing there in a bikini or lingerie, and the women fit a certain mold or getting through no problem, but any of the plus size women, their content's getting taken down for content violations. No.
Yeah, and
I mean,
I grew up, I'm not tiny. I mean, I grew up in middle school was when I started getting made fun of for my weight. I got so depressed. I'm an 11-year-old, 4 foot something, and because of the depression, I became 180 pounds, and then I started starving myself because I was being called Miss Piggy and made fun of it. I made fun for it. There would be girls that would come up and just pinch me going, "You're too fat." And my mom caught me. It hurts, and it's the same for guys in a different way. It's ridiculous.
Exactly.
So it's not fair because from a young age, because of media and so on, kids are constantly seeing and being shown, you have to be this body type, you have to start exercising, you have to start doing this, you have to look this way.
Yeah, exactly. And that's so disgusting because, the body isn't, an amusement park ride. You got to be this slim to ride this, merry-go-round or whatever. I mean, we're all humans, and what you see in media, what you see in the, glamour magazines or Victoria's Secret, all that shit is, it's Photoshop, it's fake, it's not even real. And these are people who starve themselves and still aren't skinny enough so they get, photoshopped. And it's disgusting, and it destroys so many people's self-esteem. And that's also something that leads back into the kink world, because, if you do extreme things like, degradation or stuff like that, and you say things during those moments, it can trigger old memories of being bullied because you were a little bit bigger, being, shunned by your mother because she thinks that you're not the right size to be in the pageant or whatever, and those things can come back during sex as well. And that's why it's so important to always prepare for the worst and always be ready to go into aftercare.
Yeah, I wish they would stop the shows like Toddlers and Tiaras and everything.
Oh, God.
I hate
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Oh. Here, because who was the girl that got murdered at the age of like
John Benet
6?
Ramsey.
John Benet Ramsey. It's people got upset with the parents. You let your daughter dress up the way she is and all that for these shows. You over sexualized your daughter. It's like that's what they do in pageants when they're young. It's over sexualization.
Oh, yeah. It's so vile and disgusting how a mother can, do this to their little 6, 7-year-old daughters. Go wear this short skirt and these thongs and this bikini top, and dance and prance in front of grown-ass women and men. Like, no, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, it's I understand, when kids are playing, they play dress up. And I remember I watch that show sometimes and his parents are like, "It's just dress up, honey. It's just dress up, but you got to look exactly this way." Okay, you're dressing your child up like a perfect doll, but your kid's not having fun.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the kid is not a product. The kid is not for sale. Stop dressing them up as fucking dolls that you can buy in a store. It's ridiculous.
It's like I've watched Super Nanny for a few years and everything, and some dads, try to keep their sons from playing dress up, and they're like 3-4 years old. It's just play. He's not going to be gay.
Yeah.
It's play. That's how kids play.
Or he might be gay. Nothing wrong with
There's
that.
nothing wrong with that. But, when you're trying to force your child to be this way, all you're going to do is just cause more harm.
Oh, definitely. And you're going to put them in a mental state where they're always looking for approval, and they will never get enough approval to feel validated, to feel worthy, to feel loved, to feel sexy, to feel beautiful when they grow up. Because they always will have this system in their head that there is always somebody more beautiful than them, and they have to meet these ridiculous standards.
And because of society and how more broad social media, who it reaches to is even broader, because of electronics and the advance of technology, that there are children at the age of 9 committing suicide because of bullying and depression and all that. And it's shocking. When I was in high school back in early 2000s, I never heard of a 9-year-old committing suicide. I was used to hearing, kids my age doing it, but never an 8-9-year-old child.
No, just talking about it, it's so hard to grasp the concept of somebody so young feeling so miserably bad that they want to end it all. And it doesn't even stop there. It keeps on going. The older they get, the more likely they are to commit suicide over ideals created by magazines of people who are fake thin. Like, it's stupid.
And I've watched a documentary about eating disorders and everything. They interviewed a French model. She was not even 30 yet, and she looked like a 70-year-old woman because her body was almost completely shut down from starving herself. She was a skeleton, and I'm a nurse's aide, so I take care of the elderly, and I see how they look, and I'm like, oh my God. If you're going to become a supermodel or a model in general, and you're pushing yourself to be a size 0 or smaller, you're going to look like a 90, almost 100-year-old woman before you even turn 40.
Yeah, definitely. I work also in elder care, so I know exactly what you're talking about there, and it's terrifying.
It truly, truly is. And again, same thing for men, too, who do it. They're constantly overworking their bodies in gyms and so on, to where that can cause body shutdown.
Oh, yeah. And if you look at all the video games and all the comic books and, all the movies out there, everybody looks like Rock and John Cena. Like, No, normal men doesn't look like that.
And so I do appreciate when I see an actor, actress, or singer who is my size or a little bit bigger. But you know that they had to fight twice as hard through a crazy competitive industry to get where they're at.
Oh, definitely. I mean, just look at an entertainer who is so marvelous, like Gabriel Iglesias, for example, like the stand-up comedian. Like he had to fight 10 times harder than anybody else because of his weight and of his race. And I mean, he's the funniest guy alive, and he had to fight for it.
Yeah, and at one point he did say he kind of got close to having, I think, a heart attack or something in one of his stand-ups, he said. So he did have to lose a little bit of weight, but it was for health reasons and not for, I want to change everything how I look.
Exactly. And I mean, that is so important that if you're going to lose weight, do it for your sake, do it for health reasons, do it because you need to, not because you have to follow like a societal, pressure. Because it goes, again, this goes into kink as well, because, there are a lot of TPE relationship, total power exchange relationships, where the submissive will ask the dom, could you please manage my weight, could you help me with this? And it's so important to not take it overboard, to only do those things for health reasons, because I have seen people, do the craziest shit, like straight out, to themselves to get this thing within the kink community, because that's how they're supposed to look to become, an alt model or whatever. And it shouldn't have to be like that. And no dom should ever have to put in that type of place that they, without medical experience, have to decide for a sub what is healthy for you to eat, what is healthy for you to drink, how much should you eat today, exactly how much should you drink today. That is such an enormous pressure that even most doctors won't do.
So in a total power exchange, the smart thing would be the sub and dom go to see a nutritionist, because everybody's body is different. Your body reacts a certain way. I mean, I'm epileptic, so I have to watch how far I push myself, because if I push myself too far, I can put myself into an epileptic fit.
Yeah, and that is really dangerous as well. I mean, it could leave you with terrible trauma and, even injuries.
Yeah, so it's the thing of, if, for our listeners, if you are wanting to lose weight, do it in a healthy manner. You do have a doctor. Go to them and talk to them.
Oh, absolutely. Always ask a physician for advice. Go to a doctor, go to a nutritionist, at least go to, talk to a nurse, something, talk to a professional and ask for guidance. It is not bad to ask for guidance. You're not weak for needing help. It's actually strong to ask for help. So don't be afraid to reach out.
One of the problems with all that, though, is like there's people like Dr. Oz.
Oh, dear God.
Who is like promoting all of these, do this one simple trick and you'll lose weight quick, and it's like it's not actually healthy. I mean, yes, they'll lose the weight quick, but not in a safe way, because a lot of it, like I don't remember what exactly it was, but like the result was actually like losing a lot of water weight, which led to dehydration.
Yeah.
So then the people would, start drinking because they're always thirsty, and that weight would come right back. So they'd try even harder on this diet, and like I was on a diet when I was in high school. It was this cabbage soup thing, and it had a whole dietary plan around it, and it was causing me. Yeah, I lost weight. I lost 20 pounds in a week.
Okay. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you there. I have to ask, what is 40 pounds in kilos? Because we don't do that uncivilized, whole American thing here in Sweden.
Give me a second. I'll do the conversion. 9 kilograms.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a lot.
Yeah, I was losing that much in a week.
Oh, yeah, damn, that's a lot. And I mean, if you lose it the wrong way, if you're not doing the training while you're losing it, the weight you will lose is, like you said, water weight, but also muscles. The fat isn't the first thing that goes when you train. It's the last thing.
Yeah, it's your protein. Your muscles go first. Always.
Yeah. Well, what actually ended up happening with this diet I was on was it was forcing me to evacuate way too often. So the food I was eating was going into my body and leaving my body before I had a chance to absorb the. They were like, your body won't have a chance to absorb the fat because everything just goes right on through. But I also wasn't absorbing the protein, the vitamin C, all those things that my body needed. So I was tired. I was getting weak.
I always recommend people, because I've worked in healthcare for about 14 years. So when people come to me and ask, what's the best way to, find out if this diet is something for me, I always tell them, if it sounds too good to be true, that's exactly what it is. It's too good to be true. The only way you can healthily lose weight is to eat balanced, eat a little less, train more, and just do the work. It takes time. You won't see results instantly. You might even gain weight at the first 2 months, but make sure to do it properly, do it right. Don't take shortcuts. I mean, I've been an elite athlete in my youth, so I know exactly how tempting it is to take the shortcut. Yeah, I'm just gonna go on these pills for a month to lose 3 kilos for the weigh-in.
It's you want to stay hydrated. That's the important thing a lot of people forget is you need to drink
Oh
more
yeah.
water and less carbonate, less sodas, less protein shakes. If you're going to drink a protein shake, you need to compensate with water, or else you will dehydrate faster.
Oh yeah, definitely. And also to like, I know a couple of people that will listen to this, and this I will say this to you guys, to you brats and subs that are listening to this. Caffeine is not water. Coffee is not water. Red Bull is not water. It'll dehydrate you. So drink water, lots of it.
He just pointed to me.
Yeah, she lives on coffee and Monster.
Hey, I have not had an energy drink since March when I found out I was pregnant. Don't even. I've been drinking juice.
Yeah, it's good to stay hydrated, but try to, have something with you that you can nibble on, like just something small, like a bite-sized Snickers or whatever you can have at your workplace. And I mean, again, you can take this to the aftercare as well. After you've done like some rigorous training, quote unquote, when you had a scene, you need to hydrate, you need to refuel, because your body is using so much during that scene that you need to really, really, really replenish it.
Yeah, break out the water and the fruit snacks.
Yeah, the book series by Anne Rice, Sleeping Beauty.
No, I haven't read them actually.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we did a review on it in an earlier episode.
Yeah.
One of the early episodes, actually.
Yeah. It's 4 books, but I've read the first 3. I can't find the 4th one. And technically, the only thing I don't like is when the only way to wake up Sleeping Beauty is to rape her in her sleep. That's the only thing I don't like. But after there is a heavy sexual scene involving sub-dom and so on, the subs do get cared for. They get massaged, they get bathed, they get fed. You see the aftercare is shown in the book.
It starts off like really extreme, but throughout it shows a far more healthy view of BDSM than 50 Shades of Grey ever did.
Yeah.
You just got to be willing to accept that some of the scenes get pretty intense.
Yeah, I had to kind of put the book down for a minute to kind of comprehend, okay, how did they do that? And okay.
Yeah, I mean, to me it sounds, again, unfortunately, like they're glorifying rape as they do in 365 Days, as they do in 50 Shades of Grey and all those other books. And, even if like 95% of the book is good, that 5% will be the thing that people latch onto and, take out of context and do wrongly.
Oh, yeah. So I do respect Anne Rice because I think she actually did her research in BDSM, because you don't see much of aftercare in 50 Shades or 365 as you did in the Sleeping Beauty books. They actually did care for them. And, if somebody did get hurt, they were cared for until they were better enough to be a sub again. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So the only aftercare you saw in 50 Shades of Grey is when he puts cream on her butt from spanking her.
Yeah. And I mean, that's like the bare minimum. Aftercare should be divided into several steps. Like you have the initial aftercare, which you do immediately. And then you have, after a couple of hours, you check in, how are you feeling? Do you need to talk about it? If there is any needs, you fulfill them. Then you have the day after check. And then you have like a couple of days after that, you check in the last time just to make sure, that there aren't any, long-term dips coming. That is how real aftercare is supposed to be. Not, like, yeah, I'm going to beat the hell out of you, rub some ointment on your butt, and you're free to go. Like, that's not what aftercare is.
It's caring not only for the physical, but the mental and emotional.
Yeah.
It really is. Because any kink can be very, very heavy on everything, not just your body.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, since everyone is so different that, one person can, they can get off on suspensions and, getting anally gaped and total power exchange and, the most extreme kind of thing. But a little thing like pinching the nipples can bring back the worst kind of trauma for them. And, that can be the thing that sets them off. Well, another person gets set off by, being choked, and another person, gets set off by this or that, because everyone is so different. And we all have gone through life differently, experienced different things. So we have to realize that everyone's needs and wants and limits are different.
Yeah, I refuse to wear pigtails in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And this situation occurred when I was dating my first husband. And we were in the middle of it. I had, the pigtails. We were fine. And then we switched positions and it was handlebars. And not even a minute and a half later, I screamed, saying, "Get the fuck off me." Because I had a flashback and started remembering that when I was about 5, 6 years old, my babysitter, her version of playing house was a sexual version. So, and she always had me wear pigtails. So that's a hard limit for me. And I refuse to dress up as a schoolgirl because I hate scenarios like that.
Yeah, and that's so valid, and that is something that should always be respected, because that's your needs, that's your limits, that's your, that's who you are. And I mean, other people might not have a problem with that, but you do. And if somebody's going to be with you, they have to respect every part of you, not only the parts they want, but every single part of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's why I love this man right here.
Aww. Bringing it back to the wholesome.
Oh, yes. So I have more fun with him.
Yeah, I mean, I usually say when people ask me to, describe myself, who am I? I usually say I'm chaotic, wholesome. That's basically everything about me you need to know.
There you go.
And yes, I am a D&D nerd as well, so I get the full gist of it. I want to go back to where I said prepare for the worst, because there are some things that needs to be said about this. Like, if you're going to be safe during a scene, you have to have a certain type of steps ready. Never leave a bound person alone. Have 2 copies of keys to any locks that you're using. Have scissors, preferably paramedic scissors, or bolt cutters, or depending on what type of restraints you're using. Keep yourself hydrated, keep each other hydrated. Have a phone within reach to call 911. Only cut with sterilized items. If you're gonna do like certain things, maybe wear gloves or dental dams to prevent certain fluids if you're not comfortable with that for you to come in contact with. Don't hit broken skin. Have a first aid kit at hand. Be prepared. Even if you're playing, with candles, flames, make sure that in the room you're in, that you have a fire extinguisher, because, things can happen.
Oh, yeah. Like there's that old saying, expect the unexpected.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're prepared for the worst and it actually happens, you can minimize the damage it does significantly as if you were not prepared.
All right. So you've been in the kink lifestyle for a while. Of all of the kinks that you've experienced or have just heard of and haven't tried yet, which would you say is like your top kink, or the one that you're most looking forward to trying at some point?
Oh, that's a hard question. I mean, I would say a top 3, as my top kinks, would be CNC, consensual non-consent, sadism and masochism, and DDLG.
Okay.
That is Daddy Dom Little Girl, and on the other spectrum you have MD, LB, Mother Dom Little Boy, and so on.
Gotcha.
And then every iteration between.
Yeah, exactly. There's a whole list, but it'll make the podcast be another half an hour if I would rattle all the entire list. But there is
That one another episode.
Yeah, we could turn that into another one.
But okay, other end of the spectrum on that, what would you say is like bottom of the barrel, one that you have tried and will never try again, or have heard of and just absolutely refuse to try?
My very hard limits is, scat and puke. I refuse to deal with it. Like puke, I get nauseous and I start puking myself, and then fun time is over. I'm laying in bed and being the sissiest man alive when I start puking. Like it's horrible.
Well, because you said you work in elder care as well, we see enough of that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one way to deal with it when I'm at work, when I'm getting paid for it, and when I know they can't help it. That's one thing. I can't stand it there because that's my job. But when I'm home and doing something with somebody, the last thing I want to do, is somebody puking on me or whatever. It's just not sexy to me. It's not. No.
I don't think with also being in the medical field and know what can happen.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I say no to scat as well, because, I know what can happen, the infection risks and stuff like that.
Me no want C. diff.
Yeah. But besides that, I don't do permanent mutilation. I don't do branding. I don't do cutting of the genitals. Stuff like that, and the really extreme side of it. And I don't do suspensions because I'm not comfortable with it.
Yeah, and so when you said cupping the genitals, it was kind of cringe.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, some people like it, and good for them. But I'm not one of them.
Yeah, I mean, no kink shame, but not kink same.
Exactly.
Okay, you mentioned the suspension thing. Actually, that reminds me of a picture that I saw. It was this guy standing just surrounded by people that he had tied up in suspension, and they were both, they were like not just females, they were like male, female. A couple of them looked like they might be non-binary. It's kind of hard to judge just by looking, but there was different sizes, and there was actually one person that was being suspended in a wheelchair.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I've seen suspensions gone wrong in dungeons before, so that's why I have such an aversion to it, because, when it goes wrong, it goes horribly wrong.
Right.
And as a medical professional, I don't want to spend my time in a BDSM dungeon, sewing people up and, stitching them together and, no.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's all about safety. If you're into suspension, its main thing should be safety. How well you know
it's crucial.
Your instruments that you're using, the cuffs and everything, and how durable it is. Because if you don't take care of your equipment that you use for suspension, you are highly more likely to injure yourself and your sub.
Exactly. And I actually heard the podcast where you talked about to another guest about suspension. And, what I would like to add that he failed to talk about is that if you're going to do suspension, don't just read up on it, because book knowledge can only get you so far. Always have somebody who has experience next to you show you how it's going to be done 2, 3, 4 times until you feel comfortable enough to do it yourself.
Yeah, that would be the best thing. It's just, I would assume it would be hard to try to find somebody unless you are well deep into the sub-dom community.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can't exactly put an ad in the paper for that.
Yeah. That's also, I think, the hard part of why people are dealing with so many different taboos of kink is it's hard for them to actually find a safe environment to learn.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point that you take up there, because I have seen a whole lot of bad things happen in both dungeons and in, BDSM clubs and stuff like that. Like, it has gotten so bad that I've actually had to resort to violence and get the police there. So, yeah, it's hard to find a safe and good and nurturing environment to actually learn in.
Well, they're out there. I'm learning this as the show goes on. As I talk to more people, there's people that have houses that they've turned into dungeons that you can go to, and you rent their house. You use their equipment. You clean up after you're done, and then you leave.
Yeah, and that is actually one of my, main goals in life, that when I get a house, I am going to have a basement that I'm going to convert into a dungeon and actually have a safe environment for people to learn in. But, that takes time. So in the future.
It's a long-term goal.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, we've covered quite a lot of things.
Definitely.
Beyond what we started trying to talk about.
I'm sorry.
No, it's the natural flow of the conversation. That's how this works.
Exactly.
So, in regards to aftercare and safety and all that, is there anything that we haven't asked about or you haven't gotten a chance to cover that you really think that somebody else should need to know?
I think the most important thing that I could say here is basically, to all of you who listen to this right now, just know your own limits and listen to your body. If your body says stop, stop. Don't, let your brain talk you into, yeah, I can do 5 more minutes. I can do 10 more minutes. If something feels wrong, if you start to feel tired, use a safe word and stop the play. You are not bad for stopping. It's okay to stop. It's actually preferred that you stop instead of getting trauma and hurt. So please know your limits and listen to your body.
Very, very wise. Very wise.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I mean, it's just like getting the information from somebody who has kind of devoted their time to learning about it is like really the best way to get the information, because like I could spout off the information that I've learned, but I've only been doing this for a little over a year. So I have no firsthand experience with any of it. But I've learned from people who have made it their life, so I can sound like I know what I'm talking about. But then that one question pops up that wasn't covered in the interview, and I'm like, let me Google that. And then you never know what you're going to get from Google.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Google can give you the best advice ever or the most nutty, weird conspiracy theory out there. And, you have to use a little bit of, wisdom and, brain activity to see what is good and what is not, be critical to what you read and, check several sources. Don't just check one. And I mean, I just got to say, Jay, for only been into the lifestyle a year, we've talked a couple of times, and also communicated in the group and stuff like that. And I've heard a lot of your podcasts. And for somebody who's just been into it a year, you're way ahead of the learning curve. Like, you're way ahead because you're doing research, you're talking to people, you're actually listening, and you're humble enough to know when to ask and when to not ask. And that is, I respect you so much for that. I wish I had that brain power when I started out. Like, my first 4 years were failure after fuck up.
Oh, no.
Well, it's like what Socrates said. True wisdom is knowing that you know nothing.
Exactly.
And so, I sought out on a quest to stop knowing nothing. I wanted to learn, and if I can help other people learn too, because like I have been a teacher and I kind of got a bug for that. So if I can teach as I'm learning, I'm going to, because this is important information that people need to know.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, I'm so grateful that you're having this platform that you can actually spread to people, the amount of knowledge that you're collecting, and they can follow you on your journey and learn from you and from your guests. And, I'm so appreciative that you actually took me here and, listened to me ramble on and on for almost 2 hours now.
No, you're fine. I've got another hour before I got to leave to work. I'm okay.
And I'm off today, so why? What the hell?
Yeah.
But at some point, we'll have to have you back because in the Facebook group where I met you, I've seen you post a lot of things. It's like, okay, well, this time we're going to talk about this, or this time we're going to talk about this. And it's like, this is a person who knows. I can learn from this. So we could have you back on. I mean, if you wanted to go into more detail on the DDLG thing, or you did one thing where you were talking about slapping.
Yeah.
And how that plays into it. And, I mean, this is all interesting stuff that I'm interested, but there's any number of people that could be listening that would be like, I'm interested in that also. So...
Yeah, and I mean, I try to explain myself in as simple of a way as possible when I teach people, because I think it's important that, you understand everything, because if I go too detailed or, too advanced off the bat, I'm going to lose a couple of people that don't understand, the words, the terminology, if I don't explain it. So I've tried to, tell people a little bit about everything that I have tried, that I have learned, that I have studied. And, I ask people in the group, what do you want to see more of? What do you want to learn more of? And once they've told me that, I write an article for myself, and then I fact check everything I've written. And, anywhere where I'm wrong, I change that out before I post the article in the group. So I make sure that I have updated information and, all the safest information that I can possibly have before posting it. And it's been a huge response, and I'm so grateful for it. And like you said, you want me to come back, and I would be so honored to come back, because I've had such a blast recording this with you guys.
Well, I'm glad. I try to keep it, fun and casual, because when things get like, when I took sex ed in school, I was 11 years old, and that's not really a good time to learn sex ed because it's all like penis jokes in your brain.
Oh yeah, and the teacher said dick. Yeah, I get it.
Putting the condom on the banana, and it's like, oh, that's silly, But there was like, we had two different sections of it. We had one teacher where they came in and it's like, okay, this is what this is what this is, like clinical terms and straightforward, no nonsense. And people were falling asleep because while it was information we needed, it was boring.
Yeah.
Too many big words and people were checking out. And then the next person came in and like, she walked in and she just pointed at somebody in class like, we're married. Let's start talking. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, left field.
And it made it more
that's also
fun and
why
dynamic.
I do goofy things. Yeah, that's also why I do goofy things when I do these posts to, not be too serious. Like, I record myself, choking myself to show how the safe way to choke is when I do a post about choking, to not make it, 100% serious. I'm giving valid information, but I'm making it lighthearted and easy to access.
As a preschool teacher for a few years, and then just in trying to help other people learn things, I've learned that if you can add a little humor to it, you'll break through whatever's blocking them from listening to you.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Because what I thought was, what scared me is in the 5th grade was when we had our first bout of not really sex education, but girls in one room, boys in the other. It's like, okay, you're going to be coming up on an age where your body's going to go through changes, and explains what happened to us girls. Okay, these are going to start growing and you're going to start bleeding from down there. Great. Here are the different products you can use to assist with that so you don't stain your pants. And I hated the fact that the teacher dipped a condom in a cup. Scared the crap out of all of us.
A condom.
Not a condom, sorry, a tampon. A tampon, and we're just like, we see this little cotton thing that like grew to like half the size of a fist. I'm like, is that gonna hurt? And
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just in sex ed, it's like everything in schools are so backwards. Like, I can tell you what Henry VIII had for his Last Supper, but I didn't learn what laws there were in my country in school. I didn't learn how to pay taxes. I didn't learn how to have proper sex, like a real sex education. Like, I learned the mechanics of it, I learned the diseases, but nobody showed me how do you pleasure a woman. They just showed this is how kids are made. But they didn't delve into the aspect of pleasure and, how do you make somebody feel good? Where is the G spots? How do you make a woman, orgasm? They didn't teach you that in school.
No, it's you found that online when AOL started on porn sites before they started charging you for it.
And a lot of people still haven't been able to find the G-spot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tragic, like one of my best friends, she dated this guy a couple of months ago, and she said that he was 45 and he didn't even know where the clitoris was. Like, that is tragic.
Okay, this blows my mind. Okay, I mean, I understand that every woman is different. Every woman's body, or not all vaginas belong to women. Some men have vaginas. That's just how it is.
Yeah, exactly.
There are women with penises. There are men with vaginas. There are transphobes without teeth. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, the general location should be known to everybody.
Every vagina is different. I understand this, but every vagina I've looked at, the clitoris is always in the same general spot.
Exactly. I mean, it might be a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, but it's up there in the general location.
It is not, Long John Silver's buried treasure. It's
Exactly.
right there.
Like, you don't need a map or a fucking compass. Just get to the point.
So, okay, anyway. I've made my wife snort.
That's good.
Thank God I'm not choking on the cough drop in my mouth.
Okay. So, okay. I know you have the Facebook group. Do you have any other, like, social medias, like a Twitter or anything that you talk about this stuff on?
No, I'm actually only on that Facebook group. That's basically where people can find me. So, yeah.
All right, I'll add a link to the group in the show notes. So if they want to come by, they can see if they can't pop in. I mean, they got to pass the entry questions to get in, but
yeah, of course,
they're not hard questions.
No, it's very simple questions. It's basically, are you a decent human being or are you a piece of shit? It's not that complicated. So the group, by the way, for anybody listening, it's called Take It All Off because it's kink time. And it's basically a learning group with a lot of fun. I post maybe once a month. I post educational posts. And the rest of the time, we have a little fun. We are a little bit of exhibitionists, so we show off a little. But we keep it Facebook friendly. So...
Yeah, I've seen some people try to push the limits.
Oh yeah, but they are everywhere. You just gotta roll with it.
So I want to thank you for agreeing to be on the show. I mean, I know being in Sweden, the time differences makes it a little tricky to schedule things, but luckily I had the morning free here in Virginia, and you had your evening free over there in Sweden.
Well, I mean, I want to thank you again for having me. It's been such a pleasure, and I hope that I made sense when I was rambling.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
fine.
Yeah, I would have asked for clarification if anything didn't make sense.
That's good.
Okay. If at some point in the future you do get your, like, a house with a training dungeon in it, we'd be more than happy to, help you spread the word about it, because that's something that would be important to get out there.
Oh, definitely. And you would be welcome to come visit as well. So, if you ever find yourself in cold-ass Sweden.
Well, we've been invited to France and now Sweden. All right, cool. If you've enjoyed listening to the show, if you have any questions, comments, feel free to get in touch with us. Any contact information will be down in the show notes. I want to thank our financial supporter on Patreon, Zachary Hale. The support helps If anybody else has a little bit of spare money, I know it's tough right now with the pandemic still going on. We'd appreciate that. If not, that's fine. A rating, a review. Just tell your friends, tell your family, tell your mom. Told my mom, why the hell not? I've told my mother-in-law. Hey, why not? So just get the word out. Let more people hear about us. Maybe if we get enough followers, we'll get an actual sponsor. Yay.
That would be awesome.
That would be great. But until the next time, keep communicating, keep each other safe, and remember to have fun. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Ludiverse. If you have any questions or comments, contact us on Twitter or Facebook. Just search for the Ludiverse. Remember to rate and review wherever you listen. If you want to help support the show, please consider donating to our Patreon.